Is it working now? Okay, yes. Our technical friends from Malta need their coffee as well. They're sitting the whole day here. Applause for them. Dear colleagues, 6 years ago my former station moved from an old medieval building with logistic problems to a new modern media center. That was an opportunity to change from a station which was divided in 3 different parts, radio, television and a small internet department, into one operation with a multimedia approach. We got one integrated news department, but worse for the staff, we started self-editing, we stimulated video journalism and a trimedial approach of the news. More and more journalists left the building like backpackers, carrying camera, tripod, radio recording systems and a digital photo camera for instant news providing on the internet. Of course, we did some training, but we underestimated the willingness from the colleagues to change. Journalists are probably the most conservative workers in the whole world. So it took us more than half a year before the working process was running as we hoped and expected before. If you want to change your working practices under the influence of new technology, you can await problems. How to solve these problems is the subject of this session. We have 3 outstanding colleagues to tell us about the urge to change and how to avoid the problems who come together with change. In the program book you find 4 names. But unfortunately, Gert Semler was unable to come. But what is sitting there has all the quality we need. The first contribution is from Jean-Marc Dubois, the coordinator of all regional programs of France Television. Jean-Marc, you do it there? Yeah. Okay.
I don't know if yes, it works. So, yes, in fact, I'm in charge of all the regional programs France Television. I'm going to talk to you and try to explain our new revolution. It's a real challenge. I called it the Big Bang. And she used the same words in her presentation, but that's the Big Bang because during 40 years we went in one direction, that was autonomize the channels France 2, France 3, France 4, France 5 and what we call RFO, Radio France Outre-mer, which is the TV overseas, because as you know we had colonies before, so we have TV overseas still now, even if we don't have any more colonies. So we went in one direction, and then our president decided 3 years ago to change the direction and to make our companies become one company. I want to give you some figures about France Télévisions. 11,000 employees, 2.7 billion turnover. Our audience share in 2008, that's 1/3 of all the audience of the TV in France. Hours of informations, programs for children, I just give you a few figures. And more than almost 1,000 documentaries. So it's a big machine with a lot of people with a rather heavy structure. So that was what we call the ecosystem of France Télévisions. This is the official map of what we were before. So you see the channel on the left, on the right, the other companies of the group that distribute advertising, etc., and so on and so on. The participation of France Télévisions at the bottom, TV5, World, France 24, etc. And at the top, the companies in which we buy cinema and we produce with MFP. That was the figures before. Then we had 5 channels independent. When I say independent, I mean that they were really independent. With a general management, programs, news, finance, information system, and so on, and so on, and so on. And we developed our channels with different system of information, with editorial lines, of course, different, with level of salaries different. I mean, the people of France 2 are better paid than the people of France 3, who are better paid than the people of France O. France 4, and at the same time, you see France 3 is about 6,000 people. France 4, 28. But there was a general management. France 5, about 500. France O, I don't remember, 2,000 or something. So this was, I don't say a big mess, but this was a bit heavy. And above this, you had the presidency, a sort of holding with, I would say, no real power, trying to build the power. That was the will of Patrick de Carolis to break all this, to do one company, which is now France Télévisions, which is also a new mark. We want to, a brand. We want to promote this brand, even if it's not a channel. But now we have a promotion for France Télévisions and cross-promotion through all the channels. France 2 is promoting the program of France 3, which is promoting the program of Exit, and so on, and so on, and so on. So it decided to make one company. When I say one company, it means the general manager of all the channels lost their titles. There are no more general manager. There is no more general manager. There are 2 general managers of France Télévisions and 1 president. So now we have France Télévisions, and you don't see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. No, 2, 3, 4, 5, because they are in the same company. We still have the participation, and we have our cinema production, and what we call France Télévisions Entreprise. That's the part of production and the distribution. Now, this is the new company. When I say one company, it means we change all the legal parts, and now I'm no more employed by France 3, but I'm employed by France Télévisions. France 3 disappeared as a company. So now you have the presidents, and you have 7 what we call domain, I would say sectors, or marketing and communication, antenne programs, channel programs, information and sports. I would say there are the contents. Means of the channel, networks. In the networks you have the metropolitan networks and the overseas networks. Production, fabrication, etc., and so on, and finance and finance, human resource, legal, and acquisitions. And then we put outside all what was advertising. It's no more, it's not in France Television. It's outside. So, all this makes the previous 5 channels. You guess what I mean? I mean that when you work for the programs, yeah, you can work for channel France 2, France 3, France 4, France 5, and France O. Alors, at the same time, that's not true for the journalist, because it's impossible to ask a journalist to work for several channels, not in France anyway. So, in the meantime of all this, we stay with separate news departments. So, 5 big services, and we choose a matrix structure. I don't know if we choose or Bain Company choose for us. Anyway, that's what we're doing now. So it means that it's a bit complicated for us, because we used to work and to be identified by a channel. Now we are no more identified in a channel. I would say, if you work on the documentaries, you can work for all the channel, but maybe you could be specialized in one channel, for one channel, but imagine the producer coming from outside. They meet the people of the programs and they say, well, I want to make a documentary. Say, okay, we won't tell you where we're going to distribute the documentary. So you can work for the 4, France 4, France 5, and so on and so on. So that's not that easy for our producers. What is a bit complicated is we have to digest all this, because in fact this revolution has been very, very quickly implemented, very quickly. So this is complicated, but it's even more complicated for France 3. This was France 3 before, 13 regions. Well, you can count, 13. There is the Corsica down. It's not completely out of the map. Now, you have the new France 3. You don't see exactly, but there are 4 poles plus Corsica. Inside the pole, you have 24 what we call antennas of proximity. So we divided our 13 regions to become 24 antennas of proximity. At the same time, we took all the human resource part and the finance in the 4 poles and left the rest on the proximity. So you have a sort of crossroad between the content that is more in the proximity and all the management, human resource and finance that is dealt on the top of it. We centralized all that stuff. So you can imagine that's not so easy for us. So what I told you, 24 editorial structures, 4 poles, and a matrix structure inside of this. I give you an example, very simple. I'm in charge of all the regional programs, but I am not in the same domain than the regions. They are in the network domain, I am in the antenna. So I have a functional connection with them, functional link, but not a hierarchy. So I can't give orders. I just can give, what do you say, ideas.
Advisors.
Advisors, if you want. So that's a bit complicated. At the same time, because we decided to be only one company, and that's the law in France, we decided, the law decided for us to make an end to the collective agreement and to 170 company agreements. And you start from scratch now. So we have to sign before the 7th of June this year a new collective agreement and discuss all these 170 company agreements. This is a big, big deal. I don't know if we're going to make it, because I don't know why, but the trade unions are not that easy with us about that. So you can guess. That's 40 years of our history that is just put down to rebuild a new company. So that's not only the programs, that's all that's all the company, that's all the French public television. I don't know if it will work, because we are right in the middle right now. No, don't worry, you will have programs on the French public channel, you will have news, that you will have documentaries, no problem. But I don't know exactly how will it work. And at the same time, our president is going to leave at the end of August. He's not supposed to reconduct his mandate. I'm not sure, because now the other reform was that our President of the Republic decided to design himself the President of the French public TV. So at the same time, we're losing a part of our advertising. So you see, it's a bit, we are like, I would say, a boat in the tempest. I'm sure we're gonna go through, because we don't have license fee problems or whatever. But how will we finish? I don't know. There is one word I want to say, because all this is made without any downsizing. There is no downsizing. You can imagine? Though we're supposed to still be 11,000 at the end of the reform. Well, not exactly, because we don't replace some of our employees. So that's what we're living now. I would be interested in your questions, because...
Okay, thank you, Jean-Marc, but we do it later.
Yeah.
When everyone has spoken short, and then we talk with you and the audience, of course. Second speaker is Brigitte Vermeersch, and she is spokesperson of VRT, the public Flemish station in Belgium. Brigitte.
Well, I'm going to try to tell the story of the news project at VRT. It was a very big change for us, and I think with the time to come, hard times to come, we have to do with less people, less money. I think we can use the lessons we learned from that project to go to new ways of working for the future, to survive as a public service. So, like I said, the project started in January 2005. Then we already had the vision. Our top management saw already what is now reality. They saw that the media consumer, the needs from the media consumer were changing very fast, and we already saw on-demand live content, mobile content, and so we thought we have to prepare VRT to cope with those changes. And the solution, we thought, was to bring a cross-media offer for news and sports. But immediately there was resistance because people thought, oh, but if we are going to work cross-media, radio, television, online together, will we still make good radio, good television, and a good website? And so we immediately launched our baseline, and that was, we will work together when possible and separately when necessary. And this was, it gave people assurance that we really wanted to look at it and to watch the balance between multimedia and medium-specific things. So what were our major challenges then? Of course, organizational changes. We were at the time 3 separate divisions. It may come, yes. We had our news, television news, radio news, online news. They were all on different floors, and online news was in a different building. So we wanted them to work together on one news floor, gathering together the news, but still have small broadcasting unions, radio, television, online. So the organizational change is one major challenge. Then, like I said, one news floor where everybody would work together, radio, television, online, and the space planning that said, well, if we work together, then this has to sit next to these people for an efficient working. Then this is what you see here, the news floor and the new space planning we worked out. Another challenge was the implementation of a digital platform. We wanted one newsroom computer system for radio, television, online, because we wanted to have one calendar of news facts, one planning of the news. We wanted them to look to each other, what are you making? So this was important. And we also wanted one storage and media management for all the audio and the video. And the idea was radio journalists will use the audio from the video. Online won't have to wait until the 1 o'clock news to use the video. They can use it immediately when it comes in from our correspondents or our own journalists. And television got a lot of opportunities in special effects and all those things with the new systems. But together when possible, separately when necessary, we chose for medium-specific workstations, Avid for television, Polopoly for online, and Dira for radio. But the big challenge was to integrate all those systems in one digital platform. And also it was completely new for us, file-based working, so we had to think a whole new workflow in a digitized world, in an unknown world for us. But I think the biggest challenge of all was how can we involve all the news and sports people, because it was news and sports, management and floor, in this new vision, in this new way of working. So how did we do it? We started with a note from the 3 editors-in-chief, and they worked 6 months on it, and they had 15 pages, but it were 15 very important pages, because it was really the basics of what the news project would be. And then they needed a project leader. I was a radio journalist at the time, so they asked me, would you like, because radio was already digitized, we did the editing ourselves, and they asked, would you want to be the project leader of this news project? I had also assistance from a real project manager. He was a consultant, not from VRT, but he knew everything about project management, and I knew how to make the news. I did it for 15 years. So we were a good combination, I think, to do such a huge and ambitious project. And we got a project team of 12 people, 6 people from technology, 6 people from the news, and that was really an enrichment. They challenged each other to think in the new world. And after 6 months, in May, June 2005, we had the concept of our project, and we immediately had info sessions with everybody, radio, television, online, together, and we explained to the people, well, this is what we would like to do, and from September on, we will be forming working groups to choose a new newsroom computer system for everybody, to choose a system for the audio and the video, and we will ask you if you are prepared to work with us in the working groups. So in September we started the working groups, for instance for our iNews, and that way we enlarged the project team to already 60 people who worked with us in the working groups to think and to work out all these new things. And then from September on, every month we had an info session, and people could come. They weren't obliged. They could come if they wanted to come, but always together, radio, television, online, and we explained what we were doing, what was going well, where we had our problems, and so in the minds, the project began to grow. And the latest of the next step we did, that was that we really had interactive sessions with the whole group, with the more than 400 people who were involved in some work sessions. And I go tell you a little bit more about these interactive workshops, because I think they were the reason for success of our project. The first ones, I told you, we started January 2005, and in May, June 2006, we had the first interactive workshops, which we called the newsroom of the future, because we wanted our iNews already to implement in July 2006. 1 year before our Big Bang. And we wanted to do that because we knew it would be a Big Bang, and everything we could do before, we would do before. So what did we do? We had the people in one morning or one afternoon in groups of 25 people. We let them think what we thought about 6 months. We let them think that in a morning or an afternoon, and we did that with pictures of media consumers, and we asked them, what do you think? How will the evolution be in the future? What will the media consumer needs? And they came to the same conclusions as we did. We have to be mobile, we have to do the internet, we will have to do more than we do now, and how can we do that when we work together? And even they said to us, you are conservative. They came up with ideas who went further than the ideas that we had. And then after this workshop, they had their training for iNews, because that was the big question. Why do we have to change our newsroom computer system? It's good what we have. So they had the workshop, they saw the vision. Then in the training, again, we explained why, because we want to work together, radio, television, online. It's important to have the same system. And then we had our introduction of iNews. So that was an important moment. The second very important moment were the workshops we had in February, March 2006, so just 3-4 months before the Big Bang. And there we were lucky because the new building, the new news floor was ready. Well, ready. There were no computers, there were no tables, etc. But you could see the new radio studio, you could see the media management where all the feeds would coming in. You could see the editing suites. And so what we did, we walked them around in the new environment, and we told them, well, you are working now for radio, you are the presenter of radio, well, you will sit here in the future. And you are you follow politics, political journalist, well, you will be sitting here with your colleagues of television and news and radio together. So that moment was very important because people thought, they really mean it, it will really happen. So you saw the click in the minds at that moment. And then when they came back, we had a cartoonist who made a drawing of the new newsroom, and they made a sort of puzzle. And again, we told them the new workflow, how it could work, and they could ask questions and think with us. And then, yes, the next steps, that was the new system, the digital platform was delivered very late. That was really a problem for us. Because after the workflow sessions in February, March, we wanted to do the trainings, and we had to do the trainings of all the new systems on standalones. We didn't have the integrated system, but we did it, and then we had the dry runs, and then the system could be tested by the people themselves. They made a radio bulletin, they made a television bulletin in those dry runs, because they said to us, well, can we try it once before it's really live, you know? So they did that, and then we had to make the decisions, are we going or not? Because if we made the decisions, we couldn't go back. So we did it the 25th of June, and everything went right. So I think what was very important in the 2.5 years that we worked, that is, that we prepared the people, that we trained the people, that we let them think with us, and now the current situation that we have now, as you see our Big Bang, the same words, that is, we have one intake of the news. Before we had 3, radio had an intake, television, we have now one intake of the news. We have a proper news agency, VRT. We have a one calendar, one planning. The news gathering is multimedia, political desks, financial desk, crime desk, international affairs. We have still separately for the general items, we still have radio people and television people who are working separately, because what we saw was that if a news event is really big, then you have to have separate people for radio and television. You can't plan that, you have to do that. We're working file-based. Some of our television journalists do the editing themselves, not so many as we hoped it would be, but we are working on it. And I think there is a big profit from the project for online. We have now 3 cross-media websites with a video zone, and they are very popular. People really see this is what we want. And also radio people, they have now, they use the audio from EVN items, etc. It's very easy to do, and they use it. And then, like I said, television with the non-linear editing, they have more means in really make fine programs. So what are the lessons that we have learned during the project? Well, one of the big lessons is that top management has to be unisono behind the project and behind the vision of the project. If not, you can't do anything. Also very important is that you get the new line management early on board and let them play a key role in the whole dry run and migration period. And that was something what we didn't do very well, because the new management was appointed in January 2007, 6 months before the Big Bang. But they were handicapped because they had this new job, but they couldn't do it because there was not a new organization, there was no news flow, the people weren't together. And then 2 of them were very hardly involved in the elections, because we also had elections in June 2007. that also was something terrible. And so what I saw was that the management who was involved in the dry run period, well, they did very well afterwards. The others, well, we really had problems because they couldn't catch what a big change it was for their people because they weren't enough involved. Then also a very big lesson was after you do such a big bang, stabilize and do not allow new things during 6 months after go live. And there also, we from the project team, we said, people have to have time to adapt to the new way of working, to the new bosses, to the new news floor, to the new systems. But you know, the new management, they said, well, now the project is done, we want to go further, back to work. And well, it wasn't a good thing because on a certain moment, after 1 year, we almost had a revolution. It was too much for the people. So I think you really have to think about your people and stabilize and give them time to adapt to the whole new things, and then you can go further on. And then also a very big lesson is do the follow-up and get solutions from the people who do the jobs, because it was such an unknown world. We couldn't, we thought about the workflow and we thought how can it work, but how do you say it? The proof is in the pudding, in the eating of the pudding. So when we did the change, we needed a period of seeing, is it what we want? Does it work? What we thought that would work? And this means that you have to follow up the things, that you have to adapt when you see it's not like it should be. And that also we could have done better. And then a lesson what I learned from our Croatian colleagues, that they said to me already, your key users, they are gold. The key users, the people, the 60 people who worked in the working groups, they were very important afterwards because they worked with their colleagues. And when there were problems, and we had technological problems with such a big bang, they were there to help in the first line. So if I also can give the 3 biggest lessons of all, that is, if you do a change like that, do it step by step. We try to do it. Like I said, the iNews we did 1 year before, other things we also did before, but still it was a big bang. But if you can do it step by step and always a step further in the vision where you want to go, that's the best thing to do it. Also important, be transparent. We had a very open communication, and I think that's important. We didn't have problems with the unions, but that was because the unions could come every month and hear what we were doing and ask questions about what we were doing. And then also the involvement and commitment of the people. I think that's very important if you want to do a thing like we did.
Thank you, Brigitte. Let's go to Norway and hear if there is a third Big Bang prepared. Grethe, Gynnild Johnsen, Head of Regions from NRK Norway, for you.
Yes, I work as a director for the regions in NRK. I started in my job 1.5 years ago when we made a whole brand new organization, but we didn't have a Big Bang. We have Big Bangs all the time. We are 4,000 employees, no, 3,500 employees in NRK. We have 3 TV channels, 13 radio channels, and internet. And we are still the largest station on TV and radio, not on internet. We will be. Okay. Yesterday, actually, we got an award in Norway for the best front page on the internet. For the first time, we got an award on internet in NRK. new organization 1.5 years ago. I will show you just a simplified version of this organization. If you can show me the first picture. No, that's number 2. No, that's only a part of NRK, but that's how we work during the year. We have a commissioning division, which buys programs from the 3 production divisions. And we have one big placed in Oslo. We have another big placed outside of Oslo, which are all the regions. It's 12 regions in Norway. And we are 1,100 employees in our division. We make regional news. We make nationwide news. Nationwide news programs as well. We make nation programs. We make most of the most popular radio channel. So we have a lot of local, regional, and nationwide programs in our division as well. The commissioning division is the one who points out the strategy and have all the money. So we have to be a part, of course, of the way of thinking strategy, but we have to sell our ideas into the commission division. That's where the regional division is placed in Norway. We're on 56 places. And that could be a problem. You see, you have to put the country in 2 to get place for it. Can you take the other one? This is distance in Norway. For instance, Nordland, which is one of the regional parts, which it's Tone's, some of you know Tone Kunst, yeah. That's her kingdom. It's 800 kilometers from one to the other part. And Tone has reporters all over the area. She's placed, the main office is in Bodø, but there you can see all the small communities. And she is on 7 places through the area. Is that correct? 7, yes. Those with red rings are regional offices with production facilities for all platforms and sized around 30 and 50 members. Can you go back a step? Yep. The smaller red dots are ultra-local branches, which with 1 or more, up to 5 reporters that operates radio, TV, and internet as journalists. The biggest offices in Trondheim, Bergen, and Tromsø has between 120 and 300 staff members, and they have more heavy facilities than the others. I think that was all I'm going to say about our organization.
Yes? Okay, thank you. Short but heavy.
Yes.
Okay, we have 10 minutes left for some questions, and I think there will be some. Is there a microphone there? Okay.
I have a question for French television, and my question is, if you have reorganized and have cutbacks, how have you managed to do all this without letting people go?
The problem for Bain was to build a new organization without any downsizing. So we're supposed to have some synergies and on the functional support, finance, human resource, systems of information, and we're supposed to put the money and the people we gain in these areas on the contents. So, but it will take a certain time. We decided not to replace around 1,000 people during the next 3 years. That is the natural turnover of the company. So we help a bit the people to live with some months of salaries for the people who are old enough, but it should make it. The problem inside a company, everybody thinks that the next president could deal for social restructuration and downsizing. Right now we don't know. But the decision is no downsizing at the moment.
Okay.
Could I just ask you, do you have the right competence within those 11,000?
Excuse me, I haven't understood.
Do you have the right competence left in your company to do this change, to put people to the content part? Or have you put a lot of money into the change of competence?
No, because we plan to move people, but now that we all belong to the same company, we can move. There is more mobility and opportunities. After that, we have to compensate. If you come from France 3 to France 2, you don't have the same salary average, so that means a lot of problems. But people are going to change. We, at the same time, discuss with trade unions about the evolutions of the way to work, the best practices, all the agreements. For example, for the journalist, are we going to create journalist multimedia, or are we not going to specialize the journalist in the multimedia? That's a deal. In the public French TV, we spend a lot of time discussing with trade unions, by the fact.
Okay, thank you. Before the next question, I have to restore a little misunderstanding between me and Grethe. She looks very angry at me because I skipped her, but she has a part she wants to say. Go ahead.
Yes, because it's late in the afternoon and you're tired. And during the day, we have been talking more or less about the same things. I would like to speak about how to take action. Maybe we can use an hour or two to talk about that.
David?
No, because I don't know if I should be sorry or honest, but many of the operational changes in our country and in Europe and in the world has been driven by new technology. And that's the challenge we're facing now. We have to come ahead of the technology. We have to take action. Just don't do the talking. Look, where are the young leaders? Where are those eye-brains you're all talking about? They're not here. Mm-hmm. And that are the ones who should be the operational leaders. I don't know why they're not here. We don't have so many of them in Norway as well. But I should admit that technology is the drive, and together with the regional offices in Norway, that's why we are the biggest company, still the biggest company. But we really have to know something about the technology in the future. And we really should use money on educating our staff the correct way, even though many of them will not like the way we are pointing out. If we do believe that content is king, for us, it is clearly that regional and local content will be even more important in the future. You are closest to the audience. It is as simple as that. As a director for regional offices, I usually say that when you are small, you have to have the big ideas and you have to go for it. The money has run out for public broadcasters, but we are more needed than ever. But you have to be sure that you have a creative organization and not an organization that only points out the problems about money, license fee, resources, and whatever you are talking with your staff about. You need to have the correct staff. They have to be correct educated. You have to be a multi-skill staff. Many of you only have televisions. Some of you have radios and internet. And I think all this together is the future. It is a problem with journalists because most of them are very conservative and critic. Understandable, it's a part of their profession. I do not believe that all the reporters are going to do everything, but I believe in leaders who decide who to do what. To meet the future efforts, you need a leadership that dare to take risks and believe in it, but you still have to be responsible. I'm very fond of plans. As a leader, you have to be ahead of your competitors, have visions, make corporations more than ever, and have the right stuff. And as a leader, you have the responsibility to make that. But don't forget, we're here to make programs.
Yes, and this was from the heart. Some questions, one more or two questions. Who? There.
Can I ask Jean-Marc, are there any plans within the new reorganized France Télévisions to do more regional broadcasts or to do minority language broadcasts? Of which I think there are none at the moment, I think.
There are a lot of regional broadcasts.
Yeah, but minority language broadcasts.
Oh yes, we have in 5 ancient regions out of 13 that have regional programs with a language, Brittany, Provence, Corsica, Alsacien, Basque, and Espanol. So it's in our mission. We have to anyway. So we will continue to do that. But at the same time, there is a real will to increase the regional programs. But maybe I will explain tomorrow what is our trend in this direction. In fact, someone said at the beginning of the day that we had no regional TV, real TV. That's true. We only have one, that is in Corsica, because we have a complete real TV on the satellite called France 3 Corse via Stella, which is authorized by Brussels. But that's a difference because we are not allowed to do the same with all the regions. All the regions in France would like to have their own TV, public TV, regional TV on the satellite. But we don't have the money to pay 24 complete anti-TV. Not now, anyway.
Thank you.
Okay, one more question? No?
Thank you. François Jacquel, CMCA, Mediterranean Association for Audiovisual Cooperation in Marseille. Jean-Marc, one question. Can you imagine the development of regional programs in this kind of organization?
Yes, because the idea of going from 13 to 24 is to be more in the proximity and to offer opportunities for regional programs. After that, it's a political decision because it means more money, it means a loss of audience, because when you divide, the summary of all the parts is always minor than if you offer one program, because the money you put in the 24 programs can be as much as if you offer one program. That's the I would say the limit of the regional programs. You know why at the beginning Nicolas Sarkozy decided to suppress the advertising? It was to authorize France Télévisions not to be under the tyranny of the audience. But it doesn't work like that anyway. Because if you don't have audience, it means that your programs are not watched. They are not good programs. Anyway, even if you don't have advertising, your target is to get the better audience.
As many as.
Anyway, so I would say let's see. I don't know right now.
Okay, thank you. I thank Grethe, Brigitte and Jean-Marc for their contribution. I thank you for listening, and the floor is now for the overview of the day. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I know we all have come to that part of the evening where we're that little bit tired. And we've had information overload. The good news, because everyone has successfully overrun their time, we are only going to indulge you for 20 minutes. What we're doing at this hour of the day is a look back. Try and pull it together. What's the message of today? Where I come from in Ireland, our national language is the Irish language or the Gaelic language. And if a native Irish speaker was sitting here today listening to a lot of the presentation, he would say, "Welawach tamich fochailse." Roughly translated, we're in serious difficulties. Is that really how it is? Maria? Yes. Doug? Ross? Going to start first with Maria. You've been around this course for a while. It doesn't look that way, it doesn't sound that way, you just have the wisdom of it. How do you see it?
I think I don't know if it is a right translation from Irish language to what you said, but you have been very polite. We are really in a deep, deep problem. And I'm a very optimistic person and I like to work at the public service. But I'm a little bit tired of these challenges. I'm a little bit tired of this new organization. I'm very keen to see how we will be inspired for all these new technologies. But the real problem is, are we motivated to do all of these things? Are we, today you said that we have to inspire the community and to report in an inspired way about the community. But are we, people from a public broadcaster, still inspired with our work? Do we have enough of this cutting always the same things? It's a program. Do we have enough of the things that always, instead of asking how we can make more with this budget, we are asking how we can make less with the less budget? So I really think we are in a big trouble, but also I have to say that still I can't imagine the Europe without the public content. I will not say public service or something, but the public content. And this is why I think still there is a future.
Doug, you were nodding at the top of Maria's contribution there.
Well, I think we're in trouble if we think that we can keep showing up to work next week doing the same old, same old. If we grasp the situation and say, right, let's come up with a renewed vision for public broadcasting and regional broadcasting, then I think really let's look forward and let's create, if you will, the the public broadcasting, regional broadcasting for the future. And I get excited about that. See, when I think forward and when I think about what can we do creatively, then I think we get those juices, those energies of creativity. If we keep dwelling on all the problems and if we keep dwelling on all the past issues, that's where we get sunk down into the muck. So, I actually think, we've talked about content being king. I think that we can actually aspire to more than that. I think it's more than just content. I think it's community identity. I think it's national identity. I think I think there's a real role for public and regional broadcasters to actually redefine the identity of our communities for the future. And that is something that the commercial side is not going to deal with, and I think that's a huge, huge opportunity for us.
Doug, I agree with you, but then I also remember what happened only over the last 2 years when in the neighbouring island of Great Britain, the BBC decided to get more and more involved in community journalism, in community news, and the great big bad wolf that some of Ross's friends there they said, no, you can't go in there. That's for us. And was it really a case that the BBC were trying to grab territory, or was it a case that they were going in with something new? Do you reckon? Yeah.
Yeah. Just to clarify, it was actually the UK newspaper publishers who objected to the BBC's. BBC were trying to launch local online video services, and I think partly because of the state of the local newspaper market in the UK, they were the ones who put in the objection. To be honest, in a case like that where you have both of your competitors fighting each other as commercial broadcasters, you sit back and watch.
What was your take on it?
Was our take on it? I think in general, it proves that the system put in place in the UK does work, that there is now a forum where competing organisations can make the point that public intervention on the market can foreclose opportunities for everybody else. Where I would have some sympathy with the BBC on this is that the way their scrutiny is structured, they have all these criteria about public service functions, about doing things that the market can't do, and they then have a final criterion of value for money. And in a way, there's a slight logical flaw in that. To take another example, the BBC was refused permission initially to launch a service in Scottish Gaelic on digital terrestrial television. Now, unlike in Ireland, Scottish Gaelic is a real fringe language, and certainly there's nothing the commercial sector would ever have touched. But if you have a value for money criterion imposed in these examinations of the BBC, in a way, surely part of the role of the BBC is to spend money in a way that we wouldn't spend it. So there's a kind of logical flaw in the process.
Yes. Okay, I want to go over to the delegates. Was it difficult to sit there today? Did you feel inspired, or did you think, oh my God, would he or she ever stop? Present company included. Anyone want to take a pop? Okay. Gerard first, and then I'll go to, is it Rob at the back? Yeah, Gerard first.
Yes or no on your question. So one of the speakers was more inspiring than others, but I won't come with names. I was mostly inspired by our Canadian friend, and especially his 4 categories of people: the grey wave, the baby boomers, and the generation X and I. And what I think or believe, or what's boiling in me, is that maybe the grey wave people should leave the platform and leave it to the generation X or Y to solve all the problems we discussed today. They might be inspired to do so. They are willing to do so, I think. Because the main troubles we have or facing are on technical and digitalized world and issues. I think that is the point where our biggest threats are, but also our biggest opportunities are.
If I could just respond, I mean, I think that if, whether or not the gray waivers need to leave or not, you know, that I think the real opportunity, though, is to get your members of your audience to help you program, right? Get a task force of Gen Xers to help you program for Gen Xers, or you know, get a task team of the baby boomers even, and see what would motivate them. We keep thinking we've got the answers. Let's get the audience, let's get our community to help us shape better community television. I think you'd be really quite inspired with the results.
I'm intrigued by the idea that Greg is able to exclude both himself and myself from all of these little titles, because let's face it, there's nothing there to be a grey waiver or now.
It's about age, Michael.
And behind you, yeah, Rob, I think. Yep.
Hi again, everyone. It's Nick from the BBC.
Nick, sorry.
I think I had another slightly different take on the BBC local story. I think you're absolutely right, but I think what really happened there exemplified a lot of the theme of today, and that was the proposal was really old money. It was really old money. It was just doing what we've always done. BBC produces stuff and transmits it on a much more ultra-local level, and that's you know, we need to play a new game now. I think there's no doubt about it. Everything I've heard today, it's a new game, right, Doug? And I think the other thing though about involving people in the story, I think is really important. And you only have to look at the UK election, and the thing that's ignited that this time has been the televised debates. And that experience, just watching the debates, you know, I found a bit boring, you know, three old guys standing up in a stage-managed thing. But what was really electrifying was the story that played out on the second screen. I had in my hands through the social networks, through Facebook, through Twitter, through the visualization of people's reactions in worms and things like that. And so that became a really fantastic story. So it's a new game. We've got to play it in a different way. We can't do it. We can't do it in the old way. We can't afford to do it in the old way. But if we look at what can we do, then I think there's a really rosy future for all broadcasting, regional or otherwise.
Thanks, Nick. I actually agree. Personal thoughts, and I don't know if any of our colleagues from France Television are still here, but I remember one of the things, and I don't say this as a criticism, but I remember having, at my very first meeting, at my very first Circom meeting, being quite astonished that as a company policy, the whole VJ area was one that was closed, that wasn't France Television were not an active participant in it. And I just found that, I wonder, is that a statement about possible complacency in the organisation, or is it that having researched something, they decided that the cost benefits were outweighed by other? I don't want the debate on VJism, but I just wonder, does that say a company out of touch?
The problem about VJ is that we had VJ before BBC, but the kind you use VJ now is to say to companies using VJ that it's for an economical reason. And the other side, to say we want to have VJ, and we have multi-competence journalists, cameraman that can also make cut and so on. The other side of video journalism is to say we can have it to have a meilleure couverture, a best coverage of our regions and areas and so on. But about little features about weather, about problems of small problems. You can put a lone VG on the place, but about something more complicated, social conflicts and so on, you must have two A's, two pair of A's, two matter of seeing and to have assez de recul, you mean what I think, to be that. So we are not totally against, we are against too high utilization of VG.
Thank you, Jean-Marie. Again, a different perspective, equally valid, but interesting. As we get to the final part of the evening, I just going to go back to the panel. I'm going to ask you to do something very difficult. Give it to me in 30 seconds. The look back at today and the challenge as you see it, in 30 seconds, the challenge as you see it for the public service broadcaster, regional or otherwise, the challenge as you see it. When people start to pack their bags, because I've no doubt we could be here for another week because of ash cloud formation and the general air of pessimism, it could be Wednesday. But what's the message people should be going away with? What do they need to get their heads around to think? How can I make a difference when I go back in my station? Going to start with you, Doug, because you're the old dog for the hard road.
I was inspired by I think it was the Swedish gal who's up here talking about how they mobilized change and they got the people on board and they helped them, the people sort of co-create that future scene. And I think that's terrific. I think let's push the reset button now and let's get our people and our wider community engaged in revisioning the future for community and public television.
Ross?
Be more confident in yourselves and what you do. Television, I think, has a great future. In fact, I'm allowed a cross-media plug. The Economist this week, changing the channel. Very, very good article which concludes that the one part of the media business which actually can come out of the digital revolution as strongly as it went in is old-fashioned linear television. Television has a great future. Public television isn't going away, much as we might fantasize about it in the commercial sector. RTE, HRT, the Nordic public broadcasters will be around for the next 10 to 15 years. So your parent companies are in a good position. And I think if public broadcasters are going to be more confident about what they are and what they stand for, surely the regional piece is precisely one of your unique selling points, because we don't do it. We're starting to do it in the margins, but we're not going to do it at anything like the scale that Europe's regional public broadcasters do. So stick to what you've been doing so far. Don't over-diversify into other genres, and be more confident in what public broadcasting can do.
Finally, Maria.
Not to repeat what Doug and Ross said, I would like just to point out maybe another problem, that we are an international organization and we are very, very different from BBC to Macedonia. And nowadays the gap between public service is enormous. And we are almost not speaking anymore the same language. And we are here we develop today so many good ideas and challenges, and believe me, not far from here, there are some countries where almost public service disappeared. In Macedonia, you know that the government also proposed to close public service because they are in a big debt, financial problems. We are speaking about all these new technologies, and in quite big part of Europe, they still don't know when they will have a switch off and when they will have the switch off on digital. What BBC invests today in just very small service for the minorities or community is a big budget for a lot of public service. And it worried me a lot. What will be really the public service in the next years? When we say public service, are we thinking about the same thing? And for me, it's a problem nowadays. That our colleague Claudio mentioned a part of this problem today, that You know, when President Sarkozy decided not to have a marketing on France television, the problem continued in Spain. It worried me a lot if one day first public service will be closed in Europe because somebody say they are in the big financial problems, we don't need them. If maybe it will like volcano ash go over the Europe and maybe it will finish in some other country. And it really started to worry me that the difference between us is huge. And my question is also to all of us, how we can help each other. This is why I like this kind of exchange of views. And that's the way how we can maybe build something new. But believe me, it's an enormous problem.
Thank you, Maria. Thank you, Doug. Thank you, Ross. That brings this evening's session to a close. Just to remind you of tonight's events. 8 o'clock is the reception, 8:30 in the ballroom at the Grand Prix, at the pre-Circom Gala tonight. Obviously, the announcement of the Grand Prix winner and presentation of trophies to all winners. If I could remind people who are involved in the ceremony for the walk-through rehearsal to be here at 7:30. No one else to present themselves until 8 o'clock. You'll only get in the way. I want to thank you all for this afternoon. I have to go and change into my little black number. I look forward to seeing you all in a little hour or two. And out of courtesy to the wonderful facilities provided all day, we will finish with our SIG tune. Thank you very much.